What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. So, it's looking more like the Leeds game was kind of, just a little misstep. I don't know what Tuchel was thinking still. I still question a lot of his decisions. But going into this game, it's exactly what I saw in the Liverpool game and in the Everton game. It's a desire to get forward and attack. And it's something that we didn't see for a lot of Tuchel's first game. So it's good to see that we're finally actually looking to attack, actually looking to get the ball in the box, get the ball behind the defense, let players run onto it. We're not constantly turning back and playing it to our defense. It's so much better to watch, and it's more entertaining. And on top of that, it's not just focused on, oh, we're just going to keep all the possession, because, again, possession does not win games. So, yeah, I feel like this game really kind of cemented it for me that, okay, we have taken a step in the right direction. We are seeing what Tuchel wants to bring out of the team. Just, I'll ignore the Leeds result for now, the Leeds performance. It was not good. No recognized striker for some reason. I don't understand what the thinking was, but hey, you made up for it by having a nice resounding victory against Atletico, so I'll be okay with it for now. But the two things I want to talk about before talking about, I guess, the lineup and the players is, of course, the two main talking points that probably most people are going to be talking about. Now, as a Chelsea fan, of course, I don't see anything wrong with what happened today. As somebody who actually does have to have sort of an unbiased review of these games, yeah, I can understand why some Atletico fans will probably be upset. Not for the red card. I think the red card was deserved. And it's not like he actually really hit him. But the fact of the matter is, if you watch the replay, especially the one that shows it from, you're looking at it basically from what the ref saw, and you can see clearly, his arm, he swung it back. Even if it doesn't hit him that hard, there's still the intent of you swung your elbow into a guy's chest. You can't do that. You're going to get sent off for that. If it's something where you, throw your shoulder into him, that's one thing. But if you're throwing a fist or you're throwing an elbow, you're not going to get away with that. You're going to get sent off. So, obviously, it wasn't that hard of a challenge, but, yeah, elbow, it deserves a red. No, but the penalty, though, in the first half, the one on Azpilicueta, I could see why that's kind of up in the air. Now, I think ultimately what kept it from being a penalty was the fact that, I can't remember who it was, I think it may have been Carrasco. He went down way too early. If he had actually tried to run through it, first of all, he might have actually gotten to the ball just before Mendy. But the fact that Azpilicueta didn't really pull back on him, he just put his arm kind of around him for a sec, and then as soon as he felt that contact, Carrasco just falls. I think because he went down like that so easily and so quickly, the ref wasn't willing to give the penalty. So, and some refs are like that. Some refs, even if you do get some contact, but you decide to go down easily, they're less likely to give it. Whereas if you get pulled back a little bit, or somebody kind of gives a little tug on your arm and you try to fight through it and you can't, and then, the ball gets kicked away, this ref might have given it to him. So I feel like it's kind of, again, it's up in the air. On the one hand, Azpilicueta didn't get a whole lot of contact on him and he went over way too easily. But on the other hand, he did put his arm in front of him, which does obstruct his run a little bit. So, yeah, it's very iffy. And it's kind of based on whatever ref you get. Some refs will see him go down, will see the arm across him and be like, you know what? That's a penalty. Yeah, you went down easily, but you did block his run, so I'm going to give it. And then this ref today said, nah, you went down way too easily, I'm not going to give it to you. So, yeah, I do sympathize with the Atletico fans for that. The Suarez one, definitely not a penalty. That's just Suarez flopping. But yeah, so I just wanted to kind of touch on those subjects real quick because those were kind of the main talking points as far as the media is concerned. Because, they've always got to talk about controversy. But yeah, so the lineup from Tuchel, really enjoyed the lineup today. And honestly, thought we were going to see something similar in the weekend against Leeds. Because I feel like this, first of all, the formation works. But also just the ability to rotate players. Because you've got your back three. Obviously, Christensen and Silva are both out, so that does sort of hinder you a little bit because now you've only got three center backs that you can use. But at the same time, you could probably convert Alonso or James into a center back, maybe even Chilwell. So I think if something were to happen where you were missing another defender, that would be the time when you could use them. Um, but yeah, there is a little bit of a lack of rotation in defense, which I don't really mind. It's kind of based on who's available because most of the time it's Billy Cueta. If Silva is available, he's the center man, and then it kind of swaps between like Zuma and Rudiger, and then Christensen will get his chance in the middle occasionally. And that's kind of how the back line is set up. So I don't really mind that. I think that's a good setup for what we have. But then your wing backs, you've got Chilwell and you've got Alonso, and then Emerson can play there as well. Right wing back, you've got James. If you really want to go defensive, you could slide Aspilicueta back out there. Let him be the wide man. Also, Hudson-Odoi's played very well there, so he's an option. In the center, you've got Conte, you've got Kovacic, you've got Jorginho, you've got Gilmore, you've got Mount that can all play one of those two center roles. And then you've got some good options behind the strikers. You've got Ziyech, you've got Mount, Havertz, Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi can play there. So a lot of good options. And then, of course, you've got some good strikers to choose from. When Abraham's fit, he's available. Werner and Giroud are both good options. So I really like how, not just how we're set up, but also how it does provide we're going to play you this game because we want to rest you for the next game. We want to rest this guy for the next game. We're going to use him in that game. I feel like it really sets up well for that, which is why the Leeds game baffled me so much, that he didn't go with either of his wingbacks at the right wingback role, and he didn't go with either two of his strikers. It's set up so well to do that. So, yeah, I really like the formation. I like the lineup today. You were kind of hindered a little bit without Mount. I say without Jorginho. Still on the fence about how I feel about him. Some games he does okay. Then some games I'm like, why do we have him? I don't know if he would have played in this one. I think Kovacic and Conte would probably have been the starting two. But yeah, without Mount, that does mean that you have to adjust for that and have somebody else kind of be your main attacking focus, because generally that's what he does. He provides that force going forward. So kind of a little bit of a change up there, and then of course without Christensen because he's sick, then Zuma steps in there. And then some of the players just return to their spots. James goes back, Alonso goes back, Werner goes back. So yeah, all in all, I like the lineup. Individuals, for the most part, nobody had a bad game. There were a couple disappointing, so I'll kind of run through them real quick. Mendy obviously was kind of a bystander for most of the game because we did our job. We kept them out. We made sure they didn't have a whole lot of options. And they were talking about how Atletico really didn't cover themselves in glory. I have to agree. I mean, I don't watch La Liga. I haven't watched any of Atletico's games this year. So I don't know, I know they're top of La Liga, but how much of that is Barca and Real are just having terrible years this year. So I don't really know what form they're in. I don't know how well they're playing. I don't know I guess this year especially, I don't know what style to expect. Most of the time from Diego Simeone, you know what to expect. But this year, I didn't really know. I didn't know kind of what players they had, what options, how they were playing this year. So, yeah, it was kind of a little bit of a mystery going into it. But based on these two games, it really feels like they just didn't get much going forward. And we did our part in stopping them. But also, I think we were helped out by the fact that sometimes it felt like they were a little disconnected when it got to the front kind of 4 or 5 players. So, yeah, Mendy had to make a couple saves, made one really good save near the end of the game. But other than that, he was just kind of out there. With his feet, still a little worried. There are moments when we're trying to keep possession in the back still, and ball goes to him, and I'm always kind of tensing up because I never know what he's going to do. Just not the greatest with his feet, but all in all, still pleased with him. Still think he's our number one option for sure, and he's showing why week in, week out. The back three, I thought all played well defensively. On the ball, there were a couple moments here or there were a little concerning. Let's start with Aspilicueta. Aside from the one mistake that he made where he tried to lay it back to Mendy and realized he kind of undersold the pass, and that's what led to the possible penalty incident. Um, Aside from that, he pretty much had a solid game. Very he did what he always does. He's very good at reading the game and make sure players don't get past him. One-on-one situations, he hardly ever gets beat. So yeah, he's just always a solid player and always does his job very well. Zuma was the one I was probably the most worried about because I've talked about this before. When we set up the way we do, typically that center defender is going to be moving the ball around the most. He's kind of the link up play, especially if Jorginho's not on the field, because sometimes Jorginho will drop in and do that. So if he's not in there, then you're definitely probably going to be the one that's, all right, pass it to me and I'll switch it to the other side. Zuma's not the greatest with his feet, and I think we all know this. I think he's probably our worst defender when it comes to playing with his feet. It's just what it is. He's a good defender, though. Overall, I think he's very solid. I think defensively he worked very hard today, but there were definitely moments where you could kind of tell we're trying to keep possession back there, and Atletico were putting a lot of pressure on, and you could see that's where his weakest part of his game is. So I realize because Silva's out and because Christensen is out, you are kind of limited. But again, it does kind of take me back to, well, you've loaned out some good defenders and we've sold a couple good defenders and we don't have them anymore as an option, so why? So a little disappointed there, but like I said, Zuma defensively played very well. Rudiger, I thought, was probably our best defender on the night. Just really did a good job of not just keeping the attack from Atletico from doing much, but also provided a little bit going forward as well. He was willing to make that darting run into the midfield. He was willing to take on a player or two and just kind of open up some space, because now he's beaten one or two players. Now somebody else has to step to him that they didn't expect to have to step to him. So now he's opened up space for somebody else. So I don't want to see him do those runs all the time, because obviously it leaves him in a very exposed position. But it does open up space, and I do think those runs are very effective for us. So yeah, I was pleased with this performance tonight. Some people don't like that whole kind of mental game. If you think about Diego Costa, some people don't like his style of play where he's trying to rile up the other team and trying to get them sent off. I don't know how much of what he was doing caused. I think it's Savage was the defender's name. I don't know how much of what he was doing caused the elbow to happen. So I don't know what hand he played in it, but it is nice to have a player who's willing to kind of get into the opponent's head a little bit. Kind of not necessarily be a douchebag, but kind of be a little bit of not a dirty player, but maybe a player that colors outside the lines a little bit. That way now they're not right in the mental space, and now they're making mistakes because they're frustrated or they're agitated. So there is a benefit to having somebody like that on the field. So I don't know how much of that he was doing tonight, but he is the one that got elbowed in the chest, and he's gotten kicked before. So yeah, it seems like he might be a player that maybe just his challenges, he always comes in very strong. So maybe he kind of doing that to get them riled up a little bit. But yeah, all in all, a good game from him. Wingbacks. Reece James, still want to see more out of him. I thought he played well tonight. Probably one of his better games since returning from his injury. But I still just want to see more. I feel like he's got more to give. I feel like he should be providing more on the attack is the main thing. Defensively, I think he works very hard, and I think he does a good job of reading the game right now. But on the attack, he used to provide such great crosses. He used to be willing to drive at players and actually make them look to defend. And it feels like he's lost that step. He doesn't really want to take on players as much anymore, and he doesn't want to whip in a cross anymore. So I hope he can get that back soon, because we need that, honestly. He is our most wide player, most of the time at least. And it feels like there are times whenever he's in a good spot to get a cross in, or maybe to take on the defender, drive down the line, and at least get a corner out of it. And instead his first touch is, okay, let me just take this back, and I'll look to lay it back across. Which is not always bad, but sometimes you want to change it up a little bit. And I think I maybe saw one or two times that they actually decided to take the ball and run with it. So yeah, I just want to see more out of him. Feel like he can give us more. Alonso, still very up and down with him. him and Chilwell, I feel like they should be fighting for the spot, but both of them are not really doing much to really lock it down. Because Alonso, he came out flying in the first game. I've talked about this. He scored a great goal against Burnley. Everybody was talking about, like, oh, what a great decision from Tuchel. He's going to be back in the team now. And he has been. But he's not done much since then. And then Chilwell came in, a few games down the line, and he has a chance because Alonso's not really done much since that first game he came back in. And Chilwell comes in and doesn't really do much either. So now they're both just kind of players that are out there. Like, they'll provide a pass, they'll move the ball around well enough, they'll defend well enough, but they're not really doing anything to give us that extra step. And especially whenever we have the ball in the back, I've had this problem with Alonso before. He tends to just get down the field, and he doesn't really have a sense of, do you need me? Do I need to be back there? And it happened a few times where we're swinging the ball around, and the ball gets out to Rudiger, and he looks, and I can't see where Alonso is because he's not on the screen. He hasn't stepped out and opened his body up and gotten on the line like most wingbacks are supposed to. And so I don't know. It feels like there are times whenever he's kind of disconnected from the rest of the team because he just wants to get down the field. And like I said, it's been a problem for him in the past where he's more focused on, I want to get in the attack than helping out the rest of the team defensively or when we have possession back there. But yeah, I just want to see more out of him. I feel like either he or Chilwell, one of them needs to step up to the plate and lock down that spot and say, hey, this is my spot. You're not going to take me out of it. You're going to want me there because I can provide more than what he's doing. And I'm not seeing that from either of them. I'm thinking, okay, do we need a tall guy or do we need a fast guy? Because that's all they really provide right now that's different from each other. As far as the two in the center, Kovacic and Conte, I thought both of them played well. Conte obviously got man of the match because he was everywhere tonight. Just, again, he's back to his best. He's doing what he's doing what a lot of, I think, fans fell in love with him doing. Why do I have something tickling my throat right now? This is awful. Okay, I think I'm good. I'm not going to die yet. But yeah, just back to what made a lot of people say he's the best center defensive mid in the world. Because, so yeah, I hate the fact that I still don't really know how to edit my videos because apparently one of the 4 pieces of popcorn that I had like 30 minutes ago got a kernel stuck. Fantastic. Felt great. Coughing up a lung. It was amazing. But yeah, so Conte, like I said, back to his best, just being everywhere, shutting down attacks, really providing that defensive buffer that keeps our defense from having to do too much defending. And then Kovacic, again, what he does best is keeping possession. So whenever we have the ball, if you give it to him, he's very good about getting out of a tight space. So if a team is putting high pressure on you, he's good about getting past that first line of pressure, and now he's got space to run into, or he can slip it past with, a through ball or something. So yeah, I really think that those two right now are probably our best options for most games. There will be games where, Jorginho will probably fit in. There might even be a game for Gilmore, specifically what he provides, that kind of almost like Jorginho, but a lot more of a mobile distributor. Jorginho just kind of sits and distributes from where he is. So, but overall, again, those two, fantastic. The front three, all of them played well. But if I had to pick one player that disappointed me out of those three, I'm going to go with Ziyech. I know that's kind of surprising. Like, most people are probably thinking, what? But Werner didn't score again, and he's still not scoring, and he needs to score. I get that. But what he does off the ball makes up for the fact that he's not scoring. I mean, the first goal was all him. The block that he made, and then he makes the great run, and then he slides it right across for Ziyech. Havertz didn't score, didn't assist, but he was involved. Almost all throughout the game, he was involved in our attacks. He was creating opportunities. He's keeping possession for us as well in the final third. I mean, he was all over the place. He was ready to make an attack happen. Ziyech, outside of the goal, I can't really remember much of what he did that helped us. Like he had a couple decent shots. He had a couple of shots that I thought he wasted the opportunity because he took too long to get it off. But other than that, I remember some giveaways. I remember a lot of moments where it felt like he had a chance to turn and go into space, and instead he just kind of dropped it back. There were too many moments where it felt like he wasn't really looking to make something happen. And ooh, the reason that's so disappointing, in my opinion, is when he first started, before the injury, he was doing that all the time. I remember watching him and thinking to myself, like, he's always making something happen. He's always looking to make something happen. He gets the ball. We may lose possession, but I tell you what, he's creating a chance. It sometimes doesn't come off, but he's looking to create that chance. And if he does that 3 or 4 times, one of those is definitely going to be a good opportunity. As talented as he is on the ball. But I haven't seen any of that from him since he's come back from his injury. And today, I thought was another example of it. He just didn't really give us much on the attack. His touches got away from him a few too many times. Passing wise, again, he didn't really try any of those killer balls that he can do, that we've seen him do. And I don't know how much of that is Tuchel just saying, hey, we want to keep possession, so don't look to do those killer balls. And how much of that is just the lack of confidence right now. But what I do know is he's definitely not playing at the heights that he can be playing. And for me, I think that's disappointing. So still want to see more out of him. And on top of that, I think the other reason, just real quick, why that's disappointing is because he is a player that I think should be breaking into our first team. But right now, I've got 3 players ahead of him. I've got Havertz, I've got Mount, I've got Hudson-Odoi. Those 3 are, in my opinion, better option than Ziyech. The only player that I think he kind of overtakes right now is Pulisic, unfortunately, and I'll talk about him in a sec. But yeah, so just want to see more. I've already talked a little bit about Havertz and Werner, but just to kind of reiterate, Werner, the stuff he does off the ball, I think, is really providing a lot of these opportunities. A lot of what we did in Liverpool and the Everton games was coming from Werner. His good runs, his ability to get in behind the defense, his work rate, honestly, just to want to be on the ball and then make something happen with it. It's something that I haven't seen a whole lot of since he's come here. So to see him start to get back into that and look to try to make things happen, I think is fantastic. Again, a lot of what he did today gave us those opportunities, even if he wasn't on the ball. Havertz was somebody who was on the ball a lot, and he was making things happen. He was trying to receive it, and he's trying to make anything happen. And he's moving so much better now. Like, I remember first few games when he first joined us back at the beginning of the season, looked a little slow. I wasn't really sure what to expect. And then kind of picked it up a little bit, and then got hit with COVID. And when he came back, again, he looked kind of slow. He didn't look like he could really sprint. And I wasn't really sure if he was going to cut it in the Premier League because you got to be kind of quick. You can't just kind of jog around all the game. But I tell you what, in the past few games, he's found his feet and he's moving. Especially for somebody who kind of looks a little bit lanky. You wouldn't expect him to be as fast as he is. But he can turn on the jets and go, and you got no answer for it at that point. So yeah, definitely want to see him continue on this form he's in. And especially, if you've got Havertz and Mount both playing in behind a striker, I mean, that's a deadly combination. So I hope he can continue what he's doing. And I do hope he can start to get some assists and goals as well to kind of back up everything else he's doing on the field. But yeah, let's talk about Pulisic now. He's the first sub. Did come in a little bit late in the game, I thought. I thought it could have been like 5 or 10 minutes earlier just because the game had started to shift a little bit more in Atletico's favor. But he came in and, yeah, just didn't look good. A lot of giveaways, a lot of wasted opportunities. He did get the assist for the second goal. But there were way too many moments where you just expect him to do something with it. He's one-on-one with the defender, kicks it right into the defender. He's one-on-one with the defender, moving at pace with the ball, and he tries to poke it past him and go, and the defender just steps in and cleanly takes it. Doesn't even have to really, put in a challenge. He just sort of steps in front of the ball and takes it, and Pulisic keeps going without it. It's not good enough for what he can do. And that's the thing is whenever you've got all the talent that you have, you've got to be able to back that up. You've got to show that. And we know he can do it. We've seen him do it several times in the past. But right now, for whatever reason, he's not doing it. And I don't know if that's a mentality thing. I don't know if there's something physically going on with him that's keeping him kind of hindered from going all out and giving 100%. But he looks like he's not up to the pace. And every game that he comes in, whether he's starting or whether he's coming in as a sub, he doesn't look like he's ready to play. And it is worrying because he is a player that I think a lot of people were hoping was going to be our talisman going forward. We brought him in young. He's a player who's wanted to play for Chelsea for a long time. Obviously, the comparisons were made to Hazard. I don't think he's going to be Hazard. I don't think he's the same type of player as Hazard, but he can be that creative force that we need that Hazard brought. The ability to make something happen out of nothing, he could have brought that, but right now he's not showing me that. He's showing me that he just doesn't quite have it. So I hope that changes. I think he can still improve. I think he can still, show us the potential and show us everything that we've seen in the past from him. I think he can do it all again, but it's just not happening for him right now. And today was definitely the past couple substitute appearances and the game against Leeds. He wasn't that bad. He just wasn't really good either. He's kind of average. Today I thought he looked poor. So very disappointed there from him. Callum Hudson-Odoi came on and looked pretty promising. The only thing that I'm lacking from him right now is finishing. And you could say that about a lot of people, but I mean, his movement is so good right now and he's creating these great opportunities, but he's not finishing them off. And that's a problem, especially because of the fact that we need somebody to start finishing. He could be the one to do it. He's already one of the ones that's creating these opportunities, so find the finish. Either find that final pass or find the back of the net. And just right now, his passes, his final shots, they're just not coming off. So that's about the only thing that was disappointing from him today. And the final two subs, Chilwell and Emerson brought on basically the time waste, and then Emerson goes on and gets himself the second goal. They weren't on there very long, so not really much to talk about, but good finish from Emerson. But yeah, overall, I mean, it was a good game. It was very pleasing to see us be so dominant, but there's still holes that we have to fill. And obviously, there are still a lot of really good teams left in the competition, and it feels like, aside from maybe Porto, which, they took down Juventus, so they're not necessarily an easy team either. But I feel like most of the teams left in the competition, aside from Porto, are going to be rough games. They're not going to be anywhere near as easy as Atletico made it for us. Liverpool and Man City both have the ability to be one of the best teams in the world. Dortmund and Bayern, easily two of the best teams in the world. Real still in it. You've got PSG, who just easily handled Barcelona. So, definitely going to be interesting to see who we get. But I hope that we can kind of fill up those couple of holes before we end up in the next round of this competition, because whoever we face, we're going to need to be at the top of our game. And while defensively we still look very solid, if we're not finishing, if we're not putting these chances away, there's a chance that we're probably going to give up a goal or two. We've kept a lot of clean sheets, but it can't go on forever. So are you going to be able, when you do finally give up that goal, are you going to be able to overcome that and put two more to back that up? And for the most part, we've not shown that. Most of our games have been 1-0 wins, or it's been a 1-1 draw. Very rarely have we actually scored two or more. So we just got to find a solution. And I don't know where it's going to come from, whether it's the strikers, whether it's the attacking midfielders. Apparently our wing backs can score pretty well. But we need something more in that final third. We need to be more clinical. And that's something that's been talked about for a while. So don't know where it's going to come from, but hopefully we find that answer soon. But all in all, I'm pleased with today, so let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on today's game? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all the good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.